Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shedveda Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the 13th chapter of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yesterday we started with this chapter. The chapter is titled as The Forest of the Material Enjoyment. Jadabharata, after instructing Rahuguna about the importance of devotional service, the importance of taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, he actually starts, you know, talking about the importance of detachment, the importance of understanding the nature of this material world. Because when one understands the nature of this material world, it naturally leads to detachment. Because, of course, vairagya is not a prerequisite for bhakti, but while understanding bhakti, when our mind creates some problems, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Oh, there is. Just give me 1 second. I will just. Just give me 1 second. Okay, great. Yeah. So, because the practice of bhakti should be with a sense of detachment, one should not have hope of squeezing out enjoyment from this material world. So, therefore, every once in a while, Bhagavatam exposes the stark reality of material enjoyment. So, therefore, now that Jadabharat has kind of emphasized the importance of bhakti and the importance of performing karma with proper internalizing of the conclusions of devotional service, He says that don't revert back to your uh, karma mentality where you are trying to squeezing out some enjoyment from this material world. So, in order to emphasize that aspect, he talks about the stark reality of material enjoyment. And he creates an allegorical story. He creates the allegorical story of the forest of material enjoyment and a merchant entering that forest of material enjoyment, and his experience is documented. Okay. So that merchant who enters into the forest of material enjoyment is the jiva who has karma shraddha. Hmm. Karma shraddha means with a desire to enjoy in this material world. So that jiva, he is described as the merchant. And the forest of material enjoyment is the samsara. Bhava Atavi. Atavi means a forest. Hmm. So he says that the merchant who sees only obligation to scriptural actions divided into rajas, tamas, and sattva, which means Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Uh, The Vedas are predominantly filled with the three gunas. Please rise above the three gunas, which means the scriptures which talk about karma, jnana, yoga are all within three gunas. So rise above three gunas means come to the platform of bhakti. So here, this merchant is interested only in those scriptural things which talks about rajas, sattva, and tamas, who out of ignorance is fixed on the path of material enjoyment, which is difficult to cross, and who is absorbed in material acquisition, while wandering about, comes to the forest of material life, but na sharma vindati, but he cannot enjoy happiness. Why he cannot enjoy happiness? Which means why there is no tangible enjoyment in this material world for the living entity. He is going to describe why he cannot. O king, in that forest, the six plunderers plunder the merchant. The six plunderers are the five senses along with the mind. And Kunayakam, he has a severely compromised intelligence. Now, what is the meaning of compromised intelligence? So, the compromised intelligence is compared to Kunayakam, a bad advisor. Okay. So, who is a bad advisor? A bad advisor is that intelligence which has not received the seed of bhakti. Okay. So that intelligence which has not received the seed of bhakti, that is that kunayakam, which means it will not guide one to the right path of bhakti. And and in that forest, the jackals enter his house by force. So what are the jackals? Okay, wife and sons are like jackals plundering the merchant who is inattentive to spiritual goals. Okay, like that. And then he is afflicted by mosquitoes with harsh biting in the dense bowers of shrubs, grass, and vines. He sometimes sees a city in the sky, and sometimes he sees ghosts moving quickly in the sky like a meteor. So, what is this? He says the bower is the house, the shrubs are the material actions. Okay. The mosquitoes are evil men who keep biting. And the city in the sky is the body and house, which he thinks to be permanent, but actually it is temporary. And sometimes he sees ghosts moving quickly in the sky, indicates gold, his attraction to gold, which he regards very, very valuable. So people get very excited by the shooting star. When the shooting star comes and goes, okay, it remains only for a short time. And no one ever notices the Dhruva planet, the pole star. Okay. It is always there steadily at one place. But excitement comes only in seeing the shooting star. So gold is like that, which excites, or material wealth is that which excites the people. Okay. He considers it to be very valuable. Thinking that house, water, and wealth are his, he runs here and there in the forest, sometimes covered with dirt raised by a whirlwind. His eyes blinded by dust, he does not know the directions. So, here, uh, the dust is compared to lust, actually. So, the dust is compared to lust, and he does not know the directions, means he does not realize or he does not think that the direction devatas, the dig devatas are actually watching his actions, and each one of his action is going to get into his karmic account. He does not realize that. And sometimes his mind is disturbed by the sounds of owls and the piercing cries of invisible crickets. And afflicted by hunger, he takes shelter of impious trees, and sometimes he runs after a mirage of water. This is the stark reality of this material world. Okay. So the owls are those people who right in front of that person speak ill about him. And the invisible crickets are those who backbite, who behind his back speak ill about him, spread rumors about that person. And being hungry means desirous of wealth. So desirous of wealth, when he tries to go and beg for wealth, he finds out some people who are very charitable, but what he does not realize is that they have gained that wealth by impious means. So when he receives some help from them, he takes a part of their karma and he suffers. Or sometimes he approaches people who have absolutely no um, uh, who have absolutely no um, charitable disposition. So he does not receive anything. So they are compared to the mirage. So he runs after the mirage where he thinks there is water, but there is no water. Uh, he does not get any charity from them. Sometimes he jumps in waterless rivers, and sometimes without food, he desires food from relatives. Sometimes encountering a forest fire, he becomes burnt by the fire. And when his wealth is stolen by yakshas, he falls into despair. What does this mean? So, um, so approaching waterless rivers means approaching atheists for shelter. When one looks for some shelter, like emotional fulfillment or some shelter, when he approaches atheists, it is like jumping into waterless rivers. Okay. It looks like water, but there is no water. What happens? You break your limbs. Similarly, when someone looks for that emotional fulfillment and approaches atheistic people for that emotional fulfillment, they end up breaking their faith and their hope for uh, a better afterlife that becomes completely broken. Okay, and sometimes um, he desires food from others, but he does not get that. And in this way, he approaches a forest fire and he gets burnt by that forest fire. So, what is that forest fire? Uh, so, the forest is the house, and the forest fire is the suffering which he receives in that house. And he becomes burnt by the fire of lamentation. And the Yakshas and Rakshasas who steal his wealth are the kings. Uh, are the kings. They are the kings who take away his wealth in the form of taxes. With his possessions stolen by enemies, sometimes with depressed heart and lamentation in great bewilderment, he faints, and sometimes entering an imaginary city, he enjoys for a moment as if fully satisfied. Okay. So, what is that imaginary city? The imaginary city is family life. Hmm. So, temporarily he thinks actually I am very, very safe. Hmm. Uh, Atmajaya Sutagara Pashu Dravina Bandushu. What is that? No, 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 not that. What is that? Asatsu. Atma Sainyeshu Asatswapi. Tesham Pramatto Nidanam Pashyanapi na Pashyati. What is that verse? What is the beginning of that verse? Anyone remembers? What is the beginning of that verse? Deha. What is it? Deha. Deha Patra Kalatradishu Atma Sainyeshu Asatswapi. Yeah. Hmm. Tesham Pramatto Nidanam Pashyanapi na Pashyati. Yeah. That is the point. His feet becomes pierced by thorns and he wanders about wanting to climb a hill. He becomes disappointed step by step, pained by the fire of digestion, living with his family. He becomes angry at his family members. He becomes angry at his family members. So, desiring to climb a high mountain means desiring fame by marrying his daughters and sons. Okay. So, he wants to marry off his daughter to a very highly materially qualified son, or he wants to marry off his son to a very beautiful, chaste girl. So, in this way, he wants to become famous. And desiring to do this, he becomes depressed, thinking, how can I accomplish this? Okay, I cannot pay sufficient dowry, or I cannot find such a woman like that. His feet becomes cut by thorns because he has no shoes. So, what does the his feet becoming cut indicate? This indicates that he becomes defeated by obstacles because he has no assistance. The fire within is the fire of digestion. Sometimes he is swallowed by a python and loses consciousness. And sometimes, not woken up by friends, he is bitten by a snake in the forest while he sleeps. Sometimes, in blindness, he falls into a dark, blind well. So, swallowed by a python means he goes to sleep. And not woken up by friends means he is afflicted by evil persons like snakes. And blind, without discrimination, he falls into illusion like a blind well covered by darkness, which is filled with misery. Sometimes, searching for a little honey, he wants to approach the beehive, but he is bitten by bees. Now that anyways he has been bitten by bees, he decides that, okay, I will anyways take that beehive. So he takes that beehive. He tries to enjoy it for some time, but again, by force, someone else steals that beehive from him. Okay. So here, approaching the beehive is for honey indicates the person tries to illicitly enjoy someone else's wife. And being bitten by the bees refers to being beaten up by the husband and the family members of that girl. But after great endeavor, he decides that he will bribe them off, give them some money or something like that. By that, he takes that woman, and because that is a woman of not good character, after some time, someone else steals that woman from him. After being disgraced by everyone, for that illicit relationship, he eventually gets that and loses that also. Loses that. Sometimes he's unable to counteract the cold, heat, wind, and rain. And sometimes, while transacting business with others, he gains their enmity because of cheating them for wealth. So this is direct. There is no allegory involved here. In that forest devoid of wealth, without bed, chair, house, or amusement, he sometimes begs from others. Unsatisfied in his desires, desiring the wealth of others, he becomes disgraced. So here, uh, this is also, there is not much allegory here. So in this material world, devoid of wealth and other facilities, sometimes people may beg from others, but still, even though they may beg, they may not be satisfied in their desires, and they become disgraced because begging is not appreciated. They become disgraced by others. So, okay, this is where we ended our discussion yesterday. Let us continue today's discussion now. अन्योन्यवित्तव्यतिसङ्गवृद्ध वैरानुबन्धो विवहन्मितश्च अद्वन्यमुष्मिन् उरुकृच्छ्रवित्त बाधोपसर्गैर्विहरन् विपन्नः. Living with increased enmity because of business transactions for wealth, he marries. So, living with enmity because of business transactions for wealth, which means he marries not because he likes that woman, but he marries for proper business contacts. Maybe he marries a, a potential business partner's daughter or something like that. So, wandering on the path, he almost dies because of the great difficulties, loss of wealth, and the sickness that he encounters. So here he says, he gains increased enmity with others by transactions for wealth in which each party desires to gain. But still he marries amongst such persons. Even though he knows that this is an enemy, but he still marries. Wandering on the path of material existence, he almost dies because of great suffering, loss of money, and sickness. Tamstan vipannan, tamstan vipannan sahitatra tatra विहाय जातं परिगृह्य सार्थः आवर्ततेऽद्यापि न कश्चिदत्र वीराध्वनः पारमुपैति योगम्. So he says, O king, giving up all those who have died and accepting those who are born, he wanders about in the forest. Even then, the merchant does not take to the method of crossing material life. Na kaschid upaiti advanaha param yogam. Yogam means the process. He does not accept the process of crossing this samsara. So, even though, people, the older people on which he had depended, they die, and the younger people who depend on him, he takes shelter of them. But still, he sees ahani ahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam. Sheshaha stavaramichanti kimascharya mataparam. In the Yaksha Prashna, Yaksha asks Yudhishthir Maharaj, what is the most astonishing thing that you have seen in this material world? So he says that day in and day out, people observe other people dying. Somehow, despite watching it, the remaining people think that somehow I can become uh, deathless. are eternal. Okay. This is the most astonishing thing. Hmm. This is the most astonishing thing that he says. So giving up all those who have died and accepting those who are born, he wanders about in the forest. Even then, the merchant does not take to the method of crossing material life. So giving up the dead, he accepts those who are born. He wanders about, but until today, he does not go towards the Lord. No one amongst the merchants attains the method of crossing the forest, which is bhakti or jnana. So this allegorical description describes those who do not accept the path of bhakti, or at least the path of jnana. मनस्विनो निर्जित जिग्गजेन्द्र ममेति सर्वे भुवि बद्धवैराः मृदेशैरन् न तु तद्व्रजन्ति यन्यस्तदण्डो गतवैरोऽभियाति. Warriors who have conquered even the elephants of the directions, but think in terms of mind, surrounded by their enemies, all fall dead on the battlefield. So people may be able to, they may be powerful enough to defeat the elephants of the directions, Diggajendra. Elephants of the directions is just an allegorical way of telling they are so, um, they are filled with so much prowess that they have defeated everyone in all the four directions and they have conquered the four directions. That is the meaning. Literally, no one goes and fights with with the the elephants of the directions, Diggaja. But they all fall dead on the battlefield, which means everyone dies. You may, Alexander the Great conquered all the four directions, but eventually he could not conquer death. Okay. So they do not attain the abode attained by those who have renounced all material attachments and have no enemies. So those who are trying to conquer the four directions, they cannot conquer death and rebirth. And they cannot attain that abode which is attained by those who are not at all attached to this material world. And they are not trying to conquer this material world. So those who are not trying to conquer this material world, they attain a superior destination. But those who endeavor in an extraordinary way to conquer this material world, actually they lose everything that they conquer and they again take birth and start from the scratch. So he says, great warriors conquer even the elephants of the directions situated far away, but they cannot conquer the 11 senses which are the close enemies. This is their courage, but it is not spiritual. Thinking in terms of mind, they all die on the battlefield. Spiritual courage is then described. Real courage is having no enmity and giving up all material attachments. This is real courage. This is real courage. So even on the path of devotional service, real courage, I mean, whether it is devotional service or the gradual path or the path of yoga, real courage is staying focused on the eternal benefit while sacrificing the temporary titillations that come. Whether it is on the path of yoga, where a determined yogi avoids the temptation of the siddhis, avoids the temptation of the siddhis and focuses to attain liberation. Similarly, on the path of devotional service, real courage is to avoid the temptations of puja, labh, pratishta, or the temporary sense gratifications, and to stick towards attaining prema, which may take time. which may take time. But just because it takes time, if one becomes impatient mm, and starts enjoying the puja labh pratishtha that comes, taranga rangini, then that is a sign of weak heartedness. Weak heartedness means lack of courage. Lack of courage. So, yeah, so real courage is having no enmity and giving up all material attachments. That is real courage. So then, Jadabharta continues. Prasajjati kwapi lata bujashrayas tadashraya क्वचित् कदाचित् हरिचक्रतस्त्रसन् सख्यं विदत्ते बककङ्कगृध्रैः. Sometimes the living entity in the forest of material existence takes shelter of creepers, desiring to hear the chirping of the birds in those creepers. So sometimes he wants to take shelter of the creepers. Lata Bhuja Ashraya, which means he wants to be embraced by women, with a desire to hear the chirping of the birds, which means the chirping of the birds refers to the sound of his own children. So sometimes he wants to take shelter of women with a desire to enjoy his own offspring. Okay. Being afraid of a group of lions in the forest, he makes friends with cranes, herons, and vultures. So this is very interesting. So being afraid of a group of lions in the forest, he makes friends with cranes, herons, and vultures. Again, in the forest of material life is described. He takes shelter of the happiness of the touch of the arms of women like creepers. He desires to hear the birds which cannot be heard because they are sleeping in the creepers. He desires to hear the birds. This refers to the inaudible words of the woman while embracing the man. Oh, not children. Oh, the children also. Dvija also refers to the children born from the man and woman. He desires to see and touch them. Okay. Pretenders say, how will you become free of material life? Hearing these words by chance, he becomes afraid of the wheel of time, which is like a group of lines. Okay. So the the line is actually the wheel of time. Sometimes when he is challenged, how will you become free of material life? That time he thinks about the wheel of time. And when he is attacked, which is compared to a lion. So when the lion of the wheel of time attacks him, he becomes afraid. He becomes afraid. So to alleviate his fear, he eagerly accepts the words of the cheaters. So he accepts the words of the cheaters who say, oh, easily you can cross the ocean of suffering. He makes friends with the cheaters who are like cranes. So they are cheaters. They are cheaters, unintelligent and cruel. Cranes, herons, and vultures. They are all cheaters. So who give false hopes uh, that, okay, somehow we will, Prabhupada calls it post-dated checks. Okay, those who give those post-dated checks, you know, there is this, I think, was it Walt Disney who actually, uh, sponsored great amount of research to remain eternally, without dying. Eventually, he died, but he ensured that his body is preserved so that in future, if they somehow find out a way of living eternally, they can revive his body, like that. So, and just see how many people benefited by this. They took all his money and just enjoyed. You know, तैर्वञ्चितो हंसकुलं समाविशन् अरोचयन् शीलमुपैति वानरान् तज्जातिरासेन सुनिर्वृतेन्द्रियः परस्परोद्वीक्षण विस्मृतावदिः. Tairvanchito, cheated by the cranes, Hamsa Kulam Samavishat. He contacts a group of swans. So, being cheated by the cheaters, he contacts a group of swans. I think the group of swans are devotees. But Arochayan Sheelam, but he is not satisfied with their behavior. Upaiti Vanaran, so he approaches some monkeys. Hmm. So Nirvrita Indriyaha, his senses become joyful. The Jati Rasena, because of the pleasure arising from them. So he is being cheated by the cranes. So he approaches the swans. But he is not happy with their behavior because they request him to chant and hear. He is not very happy with their behavior. So he approaches some monkeys. And when he approaches those monkeys, he becomes very happy because his senses become very pleased in the association of those monkeys. So, Paraspara Udvikshana. So he gazes at their faces. Vismrita Avadihi. And he forgets about death. He gazes at their face and he forgets about death. So here, what does this mean? He says, understanding that they give no results, he goes to a group of Brahmanas. So he goes to a group of Brahmanas who are compared to swans. But he is not satisfied with their rules for atonement and taking the sacred thread again. So they tell, okay, you can perform these kind of prayaschittas and that way you can accept the sacred thread again. But he is not very happy with this because he wants to continue to enjoy and avoid the suffering. So they are not encouraging it. So he's not very happy with their behavior. So not satisfied, he goes to some pretenders who are almost Shudras with a fallen conduct. Okay. So satisfied with unrestricted association with women, eating and drinking, by looking at their faces, he forgets that death is approaching. Nidanam pashyan apina pashyati. Like that. Then, Drumeshu ramsyan sutadara vatsalo vyavayadino vivashasva bandhane क्वचित् प्रमादात् गिरिकन्दरे पतन् वल्लीं गृहीत्वा गजबीत आस्थितः. Drumeshu ramsyan, enjoying in the trees. Sutadara vatsalo, affectionate to sons and wife. Vyavaya dino, miserable because of sex life. Vivashasva bandhane, and bound up there and helpless, he sometimes out of inattention falls into a mountain cave, Girikandare Patan, Vallim Grihitva, and holding on to a creeper, Gajabhita, and afraid of an elephant, Astitaha, he remains dangling there. So there are many other allegories that is mentioned here. So enjoying in the trees because he has approached the monkeys. Enjoying in the trees, affectionate to his sons and wives, miserable because of sex life and bound up there and helpless, he sometimes out of inattention falls into a mountain cave. But while falling into a mountain cave, holding on to a creeper and afraid of an elephant, he remains dangling there. So what does this mean? He enjoys in the houses, palaces which are places of pleasure, which is the trees. So the trees are compared to houses, which are places of pleasure. So he's enjoying that. Desiring sex life, he is kicked by the woman. He is bound up helplessly in that forest and he cannot escape that forest. He is bound up because of his own attachment. Another version has Charanmani wandering in the forest. Becoming terribly sick, like falling into a mountain cave, he fears death, which is compared to an elephant. So falling into the mountain cave is dying. Sorry, falling sick. And he fears death, which is compared to an elephant. He remains alive by the support of his karmas, which is like a vine holding him up. So he fears death. While falling into the cave, he fears death, which is compared to an elephant. But in order to escape that elephant of death, he holds on to a creeper, and that creeper is his karma. Okay. Okay. Then, अतः कथञ्चित् सविमुक्त आपदः पुनश्च सार्तं प्रविशत्यरिन्दम अध्वन्यमुष्मिन् अजयानिवेशितो भ्रमञ्जनोऽद्यापि न वेद कश्चन. O killer of enemies, somehow he becomes free from danger and again begins to enjoy. So which means somehow his karma saves him and he again manages to enjoy. Absorbed in the path by ignorance, a person wanders about till death and does not understand anything. Again he starts enjoying Pravritti Marga. He does not know the Supreme Lord. Okay. So in this way, in these verses, 19 verses, he describes the naked reality of samsara through this allegorical story. So now he concludes by telling, Rahoganatvam apihyadvanosya sanyastadandah kritabhuta maitraha asajjitatma harisevayashitam jnanaasimadaya tarati param. O Rahugana, tvam apihi asya advanah. You are also absorbed in material life. You are also, you are actually this merchant. You are this merchant. Krita bhuta maitraha, making friends with all beings. Sanyasta dandaha, renouncing the punishment that the king gives to others. Jnana asim adaya, taking the sword of knowledge. Harisevaya shitam, which has been sharpened by devotional service to the Lord. Asad jitatma, with mind detached from material enjoyment. Tarati param, cross over the material existence. So he says, so therefore he says, cross over this material ocean, O Rahugana. You are also like this merchant, absorbed in material existence. So making friends with all beings, don't see people as friends and enemies. Make friends with everyone. And don't be too attached to your duty as a king, which means he's not telling that, neglect your duties. What he means is don't be attached only to your kingly duties. Okay. Take up the sword of knowledge which has been sharpened by Hari Seva. And with the mind detached from enjoyment, cross over the material existence. That's what he says. So, this is the concluding words of Jadabharata. This is the last verse. 5:13:20 is the last verse spoken by Jadabharata. So now the next few verses, Rahugana is going to speak. Okay, Rahugana says, Aho nrijanma kila janma shobhanam kim janma bistvaparairapyanamushmin न यदृशीकेश यशकृतात्मनां महात्मनां वप्रचुरः समागमः. So he says, Aho Nrijanma Akila Janma Shobhanam. Oh, this human birth is most splendid. Kim Janmavistu Aparairapyamushmin. What use is there of any other birth? Why is the human birth very glorious? Because na mahatmanam va prachuras samagamaha. So what is the use of any other birth in which there is no abundant intimate association of great devotees? Yad atmanam, whose whole being, Rishikesha Yashakrita, is composed of glorification of the Lord. Human birth is the most splendid. What is the use of any other birth in which there is no abundant intimate association of great devotees, whose whole being is composed of glorification of the Lord? So, human birth is glorious because devotees association is available only in human birth. Well, devotees, they try to uh, show mercy to all living entities, not just human beings. Chakruhu kripam yadyapi tulya darshana. So Narada Muni, while narrating his story to Vyasadeva, he says that the sages are tulya darshana. They see equally. So it's not that they are inclined to show mercy only to human beings. But the point is, only human beings can appreciate. Only human beings can appreciate that mercy. Plants and animals cannot appreciate that mercy. Plants and animals cannot appreciate that mercy. So, in this context, in our Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu discussion, we were discussing about Vyabhichari Bhavas. So, Vyabhichari Bhavas are particular emotions which are experienced by the devotees. So, after describing about Vyabhichari Bhavas, Srila Rupa Goswami describes about Abhas Vyabhichari Bhavas. That which looks like a Vyabhichari Bhava, but it is not. So he says that there are two types of Vyabhichari Bhava Abhas. One is Pratikulya Vyabhichari Bhava Abhas and Anauchitya Vyabhichari Bhava Abhas. So what is Pratikulya Vyabhichari Bhava Abhas? Sometimes the enemies of Krishna, they experience lot of emotions in conjunction with Krishna. Lot of emotions in conjunction with Krishna. So but because they do not have any rati or natural love for Krishna, this is one type of Vyabhichari Bhava Abhas. Pratikulya Vyabhichari Bhava Abhas. But sometimes emotions or Vyabhichari Bhavas are inappropriately ascribed to non-human species. This is called as Anauchitya Vyabhichari Bhavas. In Vrindavan, every moving and non-moving entity has love for Krishna. The trees have love for Krishna. The land of Vrindavan has love for Krishna. The animals like birds like peacocks, animals like deers and cows, they all have love for Krishna. Okay. But Srila Rupa Goswami explains that love lacks discrimination. It lacks the deeper discrimination that human beings have. Okay. Love, definitely. That is why if you see in the pastimes of Krishna, especially the very esoteric pastimes like Rasa Leela, his conjugal pastimes with the gopis, those in Vatsalya Rasa are not allowed to participate or even observe. Those in Sakya Rasa are not allowed to observe. Those in Dasya Rasa or Shanta Rasa are not allowed to observe. But the trees and animals and birds, they participate in those pastimes. Now, how is it that that which is out of bounds for that which is out of bounds for the human beings and exalted devotees like Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, Sridama, Subal, and all of them, that which is out of bounds for them, how the trees and birds and animals are allowed to participate? They are allowed to participate because they lack that discrimination. Awareness is there, love is there, but that love lacks that discrimination. So they cannot decode the deeper leela. It is not possible. So this is even in the spiritual world. Even in the spiritual world, love is there, but that love lacks discrimination. So similarly, here human birth is glorified, right? Because in any other birth, there is no abundant, intimate association with great devotees. It's not that animals and plants cannot benefit from the association of Vaishnavas, but they do not have sufficient consciousness to value it. They do not have sufficient consciousness to value it. Okay. So there is no, definitely association with great devotees is there. Like Narada Muni gave the association to, uh, Nalakuvera and Manigriva. Of course, at that time they were human beings. Later they became trees and they got benefited by the association of Krishna. But Krishna will not come and intimately talk with, trees and birds, or even if he speaks, they do not have sufficient discrimination to understand and appreciate that association. So there is human birth is glorified because it says that there is abundant intimate association of great devotees. So it's not that great devotees want to show mercy only to human beings. Great devotees, they are tulya darshana. They are equal to all. They want everyone to get mercy. There are many episodes where Srila Prabhupada, requested his disciples to chant to insects. Okay. But the ability of the insect to appreciate that chanting is very limited. Okay. So here is Rahuguna glorifying the importance of human birth because he has been fortunate enough to receive the association of Jadabartha and appreciate that association. Like that. So it is just like someone who is appreciating, oh, I am very fortunate to have a human birth so that I am able to relish this apus mango. Okay. Because apus mango is there, but that apus mango cannot be relished by a dog or a cat or a tiger. Okay. So it can be relished only by, not that the apus mango is not available for them. It is available for them, but it can be relished properly only by a person who has human birth. So, like that. So here Ravguna is saying, how have I suddenly become so fortunate? With astonishment he wonders. Amongst all births, human life is splendid in this astonishing world. There is nothing better in next life, in Swarga. What is the use of those births as devatas in which there is no association with great devotees, whose souls, efforts, intelligence, mind, and bodies are made only of glorification of the Lord who engage their senses? So he rejoices, or he is glorifying his own fortune, good fortune. He is expressing gratitude for his own fortune. Okay. Then he says, Nahyadbhutam tvacharanabjarenubir hatam haso bhaktiradokshaje mala mauhurtikadyasya samagamachame dustarkamulo apahato avivekah. Nahi adbhutam. Actually, it is not so astonishing. Hata amhaso, that all my sins have been destroyed charanabjarenubir, by the dust of your lotus feet. Hmm. Amala bhaktir adokshaje, and that pure bhakti to the Supreme Lord has arisen. So this is the um, benefit of uh, associating with Jadabharata. He says that actually it is not astonishing that all my sins have been destroyed by the dust of your lotus feet, and that pure bhakti to the Supreme Lord has arisen. Yasya mauhurtikat samagaman, by a moment's association with you, may avivekah, my lack of discrimination, dustarka mulo, which was the root of all my false arguments. Tarka, argument, logic. Dustarka, bad logic. Mula, root. The root of all my false logic and arguments based on that false logic was may avivekah, my lack of discrimination. But yasya mauhurtikat samadama, by just a moment's association with you, uh, my lack of discrimination, which was the root of my all my false arguments, apahatah, it has been destroyed. So someone may say that, oh, you mentioned intimate association. Does this mean that little association is useless? He says, no. I spoke like that out of great enthusiasm. Just by obtaining the dust from your lotus feet, I have obtained pure bhakti, which is rare even for Brahma or Indra. But this is not astonishing. What is astonishing is that if just by a moment's association, my mind, which was corrupted by a little knowledge and filled with bad logic, becomes favorable to bhakti, how can one describe the greatness of prolonged association with devotees? My statement shows my enthusiasm, not that I appreciate only prolonged association, but prolonged association indicates my enthusiasm. But I appreciate even little bit of association, like that. Okay, so what we will do now is, it is 8:15, and I was just checking. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Another 11 slides. But if we take those 11 slides, then we will not have sufficient time for discussions and Q&A. So I think we will pause now for some discussions. If there are any quick questions, comments, discussion points, we will take right now. If there are not many questions, then we will return back and try to see if we can cover this chapter. Okay. There are some questions in the chat box. Let's take them first. When these topics are explained to someone who is financially very well off, they often think, where is the misery in this world? Yet, Jadabharata is speaking all these truths to a king who can afford everything. So is it correct to understand that only by Sukriti can the king and others truly understand the urgency of spiritual life? Yes, this is correct. This is correct. So they can only, the material situations can only act as somewhat of a stimulus, like a catalyst, that's all. But they cannot become the reason for someone accepting bhakti. So oftentimes people say, like who approaches Krishna? They say Artho Jigyasu Artharthi Jnani. Okay. Chaturvida bhajante mam. Hmm. But the most important thing is Jana Sukritino Arjuna. Yeah. Who approaches Krishna? The Sukritinas approach Krishna. Okay. Otherwise, the material circumstances only become the impetus to take shelter, to seek shelter. But if there is Sukriti, then one will seek shelter from Krishna. If there is lack of Sukriti, then they will seek shelter from other material sources. So, Chaturvida bhajante mam jana Sukritino Arjuna. Artho Jigyasur Jnani Chabartarshava. So these four kinds of people, it is not necessary that they will approach Krishna. They will approach Krishna only if there is Sukriti. And if there is Sukriti, then even if one may be a king. He may not be an Artharthi. He may not be Artha. He may not be severely distressed also. And he may not have serious curiosity or inquisitiveness. But still he may approach Krishna. Still he may approach Krishna because he has Sukriti. Okay. So the material situations are never the cause of taking shelter of Krishna. They may become a stimulus to seek shelter, but whether they will seek shelter of Krishna or not depends on whether they have Sukriti or not. Yeah. So this allegory is applicable to, mostly this allegory applies to non-devotees. Correct. Okay. Yes, Madhumati Priyasati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for the class. Not a question, just a comment. When you talked about the pure devotees, like how they are chanting even to the animals, I remember one incident from Janananda Swami. He was driving past, a forest way to a home program. That he stopped on the way. He asked to stop, and then there was a hedgehog, a small hedgehog, they say mullam pandri, something like that in Tamil.
Porcupine.
Yeah, porcupine, correct. Hedgehog, they say it, like small one. And it was about to die, and he left everything. He sat down and he was chanting till it passed away. What I was thinking, what amazing, person, amazing, oh, how compassionate he was. Was very nicely and softly chanting till the hedgehog sitting down and chanting. I was remembering that instant.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
We are so fortunate that, such devotees are there to set the right example for all of us. That actually, this is preaching. This is actually preaching. Not that he is preaching to the. Preaching means what? The stimulus for preaching is compassion. The stimulus for preaching is compassion. The stimulus for preaching is not, popularity or anything of that sort. The stimulus for preaching is compassion. And at every moment, that compassion is there, so the opportunity to preach is always there. Of course, here we are discussing about this. Maharaj has done, even though he might have gone late to that program or he might have had to spend little less time in the program, but this is a powerful preaching. This is a powerful preaching. So now you see there are 100-odd devotees listening, participating live in this session. There may be a few more who might listen to the recordings. Now they will feel inspired. This is such a powerful preaching. Yes, by sitting and chanting for that hedgehog, he might have gotten an opportunity to speak one less pastime in that home program. But he has actually manifested a pastime himself, which hundreds and thousands of people are discussing here and are getting inspired, getting a much more refined understanding of what preaching is. So, yeah, thank you for sharing. So, how do we understand that Jadabharata gives so much on jnana in his instructions? So much emphasis on jnana. See, again, jnana itself is not bad. Jnana itself is not bad. Discussing about the nature of the difference between body and soul is not exclusively belonging to the path of jnana. It is definitely a path of bhakti also. It's not that in bhakti, you don't have to discuss that you are not this body or you are the soul. Okay. But we don't stop there. We discuss further about uh, the the nature of the Supreme Lord, his pastimes, his nama, rupa, guna, leela, and all that. That's what Jadabharata is doing. He's not just giving impersonal jnana to Rahuguna. This is not just impersonal jnana. There is so much discussion about the nature of bhakti, the nature of association, Rahugana itat tapasanayati, and all that. But here he is talking about the forest of material enjoyment because detachment is important. Because always the temptation will be there. Always the temptation will be there. That somehow, maybe I will get some pleasure. So he is describing it. Okay. Any further questions before? Yesterday something, I think Shyam Sundaranand Prabhu, you had some question which we could not discuss. Do you wish to discuss it? Is he there, Shyam Sundaranand Prabhu? Oh, I thought he was there. Looks like he's not there. He was there, but I think he dropped out, I guess. Oh, iPhone is Shyam Sundaranand Prabhu. Okay. So can you please raise your hands? We can take your question because there are multiple iPhones. I don't know which iPhone to. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, brother. This
Yes.
is my wife Anuradha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you very much for the class project. Yesterday I was asking about our like how a practitioner, although he is not, he knows that he is committing mistake, but he is not able to.
Oh, yeah. We did discuss
Yeah.
we did discuss, right? Like
Yeah.
association.
Yes, association. Yes, that's what we
Yeah.
already said this.
We did discuss. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there are no further questions, then we still have some time. Maybe there is a chance that we can complete this chapter also. Okay. Shivakumar Prabhu is raising his hands. So Shamsundaran Prabhu, any further points you would like to add?
One thing I was asking was what was I asking? Sorry, I forgot the questions.
Okay, let Shivakumar Prabhu go ahead.
Okay.
And
I
if you remember, you can get back.
Yeah, thank you.
Shivakumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Dandatta.
So, Prabhu, speaking of this devotee association, Prabhu, I just wanted to bring up a few aspects and just seek your inputs, Prabhu. So it seems we understand the devotee association is the life and soul of bhakti, and it's only through that we can, I mean, we have received bhakti, and progress is also bhakti, and even after attaining perfection, it has to continue, Prabhu, in that sense. But during this process of, during this stage of sadhana, Prabhu, it appears to me that actually the devotee association is like plays a dual role, like giving inspiration, giving motivation to continue, also giving some discomfort, pain, inconvenience, because the purification can only happen through that association, right, Prabhu? So it seems there the association is actually playing dual roles there. But whenever we hear about this association, it seems we always give it like green picture. Well, it is not true in reality.
Well, okay, yeah. So it is just like when you are having a surgery, the purpose of the surgery is to treat you of that particular disease.
Mm.
So, but in treating that particular disease, the surgery itself can be a little bit painful.
Correct.
So now you cannot say that, oh, you are painting a very green picture about this doctor, that he performs he has 100% track record of curing the patient of the disease through the surgery, but you are unreasonably painting a green picture. While performing the surgery, it is very painful.
Mm.
Of course, it will be painful. What else do you expect from surgery? But having said that, yeah, of course, one has to have discrimination in discrimination while taking association also. And also we have to see what is the cause of the pain. What is the cause of the pain? Is it my own false ego and anarthas? That is the cause of the pain.
Yeah.
When I am having a problem with one devotee, maybe he is at problem. When I am having problem with two devotees, maybe still the other person, three devotees, four devotees, five devotees. So maybe it is a sign for us to understand. Maybe there is some problem in me where I need to find out, is there something in me which is becoming the cause of the relationship to become bitter.
Yes, Prabhu.
So these are opportunities for us to learn our own lessons.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Understood, Prabhu. I mean, it's for my own purification. I could see that even every inconvenience, somehow or other points to an defect inside. But what I'm trying to say, Prabhu, if we start talking as if devotee association is like all pleasurable, all favorable experience, and in reality, if we see a bitter experience, then at that time it kind of it's not a healthy this thing. So what I was telling is, it wouldn't it be better to kind of give the right picture of there would be inconvenience, but the need for tolerating it and persisting it to continue the process against just talking about the goodness of association. Is what I am trying to bring out.
Prabhu, there is a place for telling both. Okay. So people say they advertise gym. Okay. If you want to develop live a healthy lifestyle, you should go to the gym. Okay. Gym is everything, you can maintain. So, but the point is, it is to be understood that in gym, you will have to toil very hard. You have to lift weights. You have to run on the treadmill, and you have to do push-ups and all those things, which is naturally painful. But when we are talking about the prayojana, okay, so when there is a discussion of prayojana, there is a discussion of prayojana. So of course, when we talk about abhideya, we do talk about avoiding offenses. We do talk about we will be seeing the other person's conditioning, drishtair swabhava janitair. Okay. So when there is a discussion about prayojana, we discuss the prayojana. When it comes to abhideya, there will definitely be certain this
Mm.
thing. Like, so that has to be discussed. No one says that devotee association is very joyful.
Mm.
We just say that it is beneficial.
Okay. Mm.
So there is a difference between joyful and beneficial.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
yeah,
Okay.
like this just reminds me of Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. He says that devotee association is very difficult,
Mm.
but material association is impossible, he says.
Mm.
So, yeah, so we don't say that uh, it is very easy and pleasurable, but the point is it is beneficial. And in this material world, we have always chosen difficult paths which give greater benefit.
Mm.
So, as a human being, we are not, this is not something very new to us.
Mm.
You know,
Yes.
we went to school and studied, even though we always wanted to stay at home and play with friends for the higher benefit. So, going to school is not pleasurable, but it is beneficial. Here, when we are talking about benefit here, benefit means prayojan. And of course, in doing that, there will be some obstacles
Okay.
that we have to endure and work on.
Okay, Prabhu. So thank you, Prabhu. Actually, I was just reflecting, Prabhu, when you were talking, answering this question. I was just reflecting. Like I am actually getting into association of the God family members, Prabhu. So when we get to trigger some initiating discussions, new threads getting initiated, and things like that, slowly, very slowly, there are few devotees who are opening up in a very grand way, as in terms of like-mindedness. But they have been, for some reason, they have been holding or not coming forth, seeking kind of nurturing that kind of an mindset, or this trend of looking for association and nurturing it. They were not forthcoming for whatsoever reason. But when we start doing it, we see that people coming up and we doing it. So from your answer, I was just reflecting that it's more important that we have to start doing it, although there are pitfalls or challenges that we have to go through. In the fear of facing challenges, or in the face of tolerating the inconvenience, withholding seems to be more damaging than just going through it and kind of seasoning even ourselves. And so there are more chances to go into favorable association than withholding it.
Yeah. To begin with, there will always be, you have a diamond and the diamond looks very rough, and the polishing is inconvenient.
Yeah.
But there is greater benefit of polishing it than to not polish it because of inconvenience.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. So in that sense, I think I see your point that it's better that we promote and show the positive side of the association and nurture that mindset instead of withholding, and the seasoning, let it happen as part of the process.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Correct. Yes, Shyam Sundaran Prabhu, you remembered?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, I was thinking about that point which you are mentioning, that in the Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam verse, you are mentioning that the word Sukruti is important. Sukrutina.
Yeah.
Can you just say it again, Proja? I just had that.
So,
in which context?
yeah, so we were discussing that what is you are asking the context or the explanation?
Context and the explanation both.
So the context was that he had Shyam Mukund Prabhu had made a point that I will read that point. When these topics are explained to someone who is financially very well off,
Correct.
That is it. So is it that so is it correct to understand that only by Sukruti can the king and others truly understand? Because the king was actually a very well-off person, So so that was the point. So oftentimes we say that these four kinds of people surrender to Krishna.
Yes.
But the reality is these four material circumstances only stimulate the need for surrender. But it does not necessarily force one to surrender to Krishna. Because surrender to Krishna is never caused by material circumstances. Surrender to Krishna can be caused only by intervention of devotees.
Yeah.
So that is what is indicated by the word Sukritina. So if you are, so Chaturvida Bhajante Mam. So that Bhajante Mam, the cause is not in Artho, Artharthi, Jigyasu and Jnana. The cause is in the word Sukritina. That is the point that we were discussing.
Yeah, actually, I was having a question on that Sukritina only. That if this is for those people who have not yet received or just received bhakti because of the intervention of a devotee, right? What about those people who have received that seed of bhakti, like a practitioner, sadhaka, but his shelter, he is not becoming Krishna. I mean, he is not able to take shelter of Krishna when the situation arises. He is trying to manipulate the material circumstances only.
Yeah.
And he is trying to blame the atmosphere for his distress. And appreciate the atmosphere for his success.
Yeah. So that indicates that is generally a sign of Komala Shraddha, weak faith.
Okay.
Faith is there, but it is weak. Okay. So there is theoretical understanding that everything is under Krishna's control. But when it comes to practical application, the inertia of his prior Krishna, the inertia of his material life prior to Krishna consciousness, that inertia still stimulates his response to the, it still pushes him to respond in a particular way. So that inertia of his material life prior to Krishna consciousness, that is still shaping his stimulus response system. So gradually, when he has proper association and proper sadhana, gradually he will develop his alternative stimulus response system will also get developed. Now it is in a very rudimentary form where there is some amount of theoretical understanding that Krishna is under control. But when it comes to practical application, he is still, still the past bad habits continue. It is just like, someone who is learning to, ride a cycle. Okay. So when someone is learning to ride a cycle, they in the beginning they use these training wheels, the extra two wheels on both sides.
Yes. So that not fall.
Because the balancing is difficult. So if you turn to the right, the balancing wheel, the wheel on the other side helps you. If you turn to the left, the extra wheel.
Yes.
But once that wheel is removed, when you have to go, still the tendency to somehow bank on the training wheel is there always. You will naturally try to turn to the left more rather than trying to balance. Even though theoretically that there is no balancing wheel on your left hand side and right hand side, but because you are used to using it all the time, okay, you tend to bank on it and you fall down a few times. But when you fall down a few times, if you have a good trainer who keeps reminding you that the balancing wheel is not there, you have to try to balance it yourself, then gradually he learns the cycling. So in the same way, when we are, for now, the balancing wheels have been removed. But still, we are, that inertia of riding a cycle with the balancing wheel is still there. So oftentimes we tend to bank, even though theoretically we know that the wheel is not there, but for practical purposes, we still feel that the wheel is there. And few times we may fall down and we may But gradually, if right guidance is there, then slowly, we will develop that alternative stimulus response system also. It just takes time. It is just a question of that Komala Shraddha to become more and more Drida Shraddha. When it becomes little more Drida, then we will respond accordingly.
Yeah. And also, then if we say that some of what I was not, perhaps I did not notice, I don't know. Initially, which I don't have those kind of, um, like bad habits. I don't say bad habits, that negative response system, which I don't have earlier. If they are creeping up now, so is it that is because of the anarthas or offenses which
Yeah,
happened?
maybe quite possible. Maybe quite possible. It could be due to that, or it is also possible that those responses were there, but it did not get a favorable external circumstance to crop up. But now that it has come out again. It could be like that also.
Okay, so either way, we have to just persist and then continue doing and take the right guidance and association. That's the only thing. That's what we're. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we have one last point that we can take. We have just 1 or 2 minutes left. Yes, Srinivas Prasad.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I was just thinking whether to share it or not, but I wanted a clarification on that, whether when we do such kind of activities like Mataji shared, that chanting the holy name for the jivas, I recall one instance when we had a dog in the stairs, and a very senior devotee came to our home, and next day morning he had to leave, and
we are not able to hear you now, Prabhu.
Badly,
I think,
and he just dog. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear, Prabhuji?
Yeah, now we can hear.
Yes. So then that it was a very senior devotee. So he came and he just kept his shawl on that dog. And thereafter, that dog did not left that premises. Even the people wanted to take him away, but he did not left, and he was there for a couple of years there. And then one day I was going to office, and while going to office, I saw that he was not in good health, and he was. I think that I thought that he may leave his body, but then I had to go to office, and I was just thinking that I don't know what will happen to him. So all of a sudden, my boss from Mumbai called, and he said that you go to office urgently, and I need some help. So I went, and I had planned to go to income tax office, but because of some Bhagavatam class was there in the our area, so I had to go to Gurgaon, and immediately a commissioner called me, and he said that your job has been done. You please come and collect that your certificate. So I called my boss, and I came. I called him that he told that you leave that Gurgaon office work, you go and meet him. And then I came back in the middle of the day, and I had so much luggage, laptop in my hand, and I reached around 2 in the middle of the day to home, and I saw that dog was breathing his last breath, and I just called my family, and he's leaving, so just help me in taking this laptop and all that. And I just sat and I chanted the holy name, and I chanted 3 times Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and at the last Mahamantra, he left his body. And I was thinking that how is it possible that I was going to Gurgaon and some commissioner called me, my boss called me, and how all the situations got changed. I would have came late in the evening otherwise. But I was just thinking that I will like to ask you whether we are doing that, because I think it's only that by the Krishna is the cause of all causes. We are just used as an instrument, I think.
Yeah.
So that was my question: whether we are instruments, or we can also do such kind of things.
Yeah, we desire and Krishna facilitates those desires. He answers our prayers. So you genuinely wanted to help the dog and Krishna facilitated it.
So that always has been, my thought process has always been like, if we are sincere in our devotional, and there are some mercy of pure devotees who have given us their blessings, I think that the shawl which that devotee left on that dog also was one of the reason that he did not left the premises for those 3 years, and he used to hear the Mahamantra during all those 3 years, because we had one devotee in the ground floor also, and he did not even other people wanted, they literally uh, beat him so many times, but he did not left the premises.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking that how a devotee who came and he kept his shawl on that dog, thereafter he did not left, and at the time of leaving his body, Krishna only made me an instrument to come back from Gurgaon to just in the middle of the day and chant the holy name for, and exactly when I chanted the third Mahamantra and I said Hare Hare, and then he left the body. So I was
Yeah,
just
definitely.
thinking,
Yeah, the desire of devotees, the prayers of devotees, Krishna reciprocates. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Prabhu. Very nice. Wonderful.
thank you. Hare.
Okay, so we will pause here. It's already over time. So we will continue this discussion tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.